9 is going to begin with a study of circles. Circles, a circle would be one of a group of objects or graphs that we would call conic sections. They're called that because if you stack these two cones together, as you can see in the picture, upside down, and if you were to be able to pass a plane through it, you would get different shapes. You're going to get, in the first one, a circle. When it gets tilted a little bit, that's going to be called an ellipse. The top one is the parabola, which we've studied this year a little bit. And then the right one is a hyperbola. You will study those further in your classes next year. But today, we're just going to introduce that with the circle. So these figures are going to all be called conic sections. And that includes circles, parabolas, ellipses, and hyperbolas. And they have a lot of the same attributes to them. So we'll just start looking at it today with the circle. So we are going to come up with a formula for a circle, just in general, and we can do that using its definition, which is that it's a set of all points in a plane that are a fixed distance, which we call the radius, from a point called the center. So that's our definition. It's a fixed distance from some point. And then we're also going to use the distance formula to come up with that, or the Pythagorean theorem. So you can see in this left picture here that we have one that's centered at 0, 0. So it's centered right there at 0, 0. It has a radius of r, so the distance from the center to the outside is a length of r. So xy right here is a point on the graph. So if we wanted to come up with a formula, every point that is that distance away, our distance away, is going to have some triangle with x and y. So the distance from here to here is x, the x coordinate, and then from here to here is y. Pythagorean theorem, we're going to say that x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And that's the formula for our circle with a center of 0, 0. So you need to know that. Then a little more complicated looking, but you know, you can still come up with the formula the same way. So here, this time we don't have the circle centered at 0, 0. We have it centered at this point, and we're calling it HK. And we've talked before about how H and K are used for special points, like the vertex. We call the vertex HK. The center is also H and K. And a point on the graph is X and Y. So again, we want to use that distance formula, or the Pythagorean theorem, to come up with our formula. So we can kind of see our right angle right here. The distance, though, from this left point to the right point is going to be the difference in the x values. So x minus h. So I'm going to take x, subtract h, and the Pythagorean theorem, so I'm going to square it, plus our vertical distance here is going to be the difference in the y. So top y is y. The y of the center is k, so y minus k, and then we're going to square it. So Pythagorean theorem, and then it's equal to the hypotenuse, so hypotenuse here, which is r squared. And that is the formula for a circle, and that's the one that you should know. That's the one you're going to use the most often. So let's use it. Example 1, write the equation of a circle centered at 0, -3. So if it's a center, then it means that h is going to be 0, and -3 is going to be our k. It has a radius of 3 square root of 2, so that's our r. So our formula is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So we're going to fill in the h and k. So we have x minus 0 squared plus y minus a negative 3, so y plus 3 squared is equal to 3 radical 2 squared. So let's simplify that a little bit. This will be x squared plus, and we'll just leave this as y plus 3 squared, and it's equal to 3 radical 2 times 3 radical 2 would be 9 times 2, which is, I'll go ahead and write that, 18. So 18. So that's going to be my answer right here. That's the equation of our circle. Example 2, find the center and radius of a circle whose equation is x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared is 44. So my h is right here. And remember that my formula has a minus in it. So it's x minus a negative 2. So that means that h is negative 2. Then I have y minus 4, so k is 4. And r squared is equal to 44. So r is going to be equal to the square root of 44. So 2 square root of 11. So our radius, I guess we'd say our center, then is negative 2, 4, and our radius is 2 radical 11. Example 3, find the equation of a circle with a center of 4, negative 7 that passes through the point 2, 1. So we need y minus, start with an x, I guess. Our formula is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So we have a center. So here's our h, and here's our k. So h is 4, so we can fill a 4 in for the h and a negative 7 in, so that's going to make this be plus 7 for the k. So we can put those in. And then, but we still don't have r yet, so we need to figure out what r is. So to write the equation of a circle, we have to have a specific center and a specific radius. So at this point, we have the center, but we're missing the radius. So at this point, we have x minus 4 squared plus y plus 7 squared is equal to r squared, and we need to figure out r. Well, we have this other point provided, so we have this 2 and 1. It's not the center, so it can't be h and k, so instead we're going to call it x and y. So just like we used to find the value of a by substituting everything in and figuring out what a is, we're going to figure out the value of r the same way. So we're going to put our x as 2 in here, so we're going to have 2 minus 4 squared plus 1 plus 7 squared is equal to r squared. Simplify, so we have a negative 2 squared, which is 4, and 8 squared, which is 64, is equal to r squared. So r squared is 68. So r is going to be equal to the square root of 68, which is going to be, what's that, 4 might go into that. Yeah, so it's going to be 2, so 4 goes into 6 once, and then 28, 7. So 2 radical 17. Oh, but we actually don't really even need what r is, because it doesn't ask it. It just asks for the equation. So my final equation is going to be here. So we have this, but we're going to replace the r with 68, r squared. We're going to replace the r squared with 68. So the final equation is going to be x minus 4 squared plus y plus 7 squared is equal to r squared. Oh, not r squared, but 68. 68 is And that's our final answer for that. Got about 10 minutes. If you want to take a break, might be a good time. We're probably about halfway through now. But if you're still going, I've got a few more examples that I'm going to show. Example 5, write the equation of a line tangent to the circle given by x squared plus y squared equals 169 at the point negative 12, 5. Thinking that graph on the other page went with this, but we'll wing it. All right, so we're going to draw this. I have x squared plus y squared is 169 is my circle. So what's the center? What's my h? What's my k? Okay, so you're right. Center is going to be at 0, 0. And my radius is going to be equal to the square root of 169, which is 13. So we have a circle here at 0, 0. It's going to go from negative 13 to 13. Same thing up here, 13, negative 13. So we'll just draw us a circle here. Kind of approximates that. Then it talks about this point, negative 12, 5, which is on it. So negative 12, 5. Let's say that's right there. And they told us it was on the graph, so we're going to believe them. You can check it out with the Pythagorean theorem and see that it works. And it says to write the equation of a line tangent. Okay, so think back to those geometry days. A tangent to a circle is, what is it? That's right, it is perpendicular to the radius at that point. So here's my radius here. So the line I'm looking at is going to form a right angle with this. So let's see if I can kind of draw that. So it's going to look something like this, and it's going to form a right angle right there and be perpendicular to it. So I want an equation of that green line. Right? So let's go back to the beginning of this year and think about writing equations of lines. To write an equation of a line, we need that formula. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So we need a point on the graph. Okay, well, we've got a point. That point would be negative 12, 5. So we'll put negative 12 in for the x. So that's going to make this be plus 12. And put a 5 in for the y. So we're going to have minus 5. So right now we're going to have y minus 5, x plus 12. Okay, well, that was easy enough. But the last thing that we need is the slope of the line. So slope, we're going to need to know some kind of a rise over run. So we need 2 points to figure out the slope. And we only have 1 point on that line. But we know that it's perpendicular to the radius. And the radius actually has 2 points, the center and the negative 12, 5. So we can figure out what the slope is of the radius. So let's just write that here. So the radius has a slope. The radius that we have dotted right there has a slope. Okay, so rise is going to rise up 5. So 5. And it's going to run 12. It's going backwards, so we'll do negative 12. So the slope has, the slope of the radius looks like it's negative 5/12. So what do we know about a perpendicular line? Thinking back. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. So the negative reciprocal of that would make it be a positive 12/5. And that, my friends, is the equation of the tangent line, and we can leave it looking just like that. We needed to calculate the slope for that. All right, so one last topic. In order to change the equation of a circle from general form to graphing form, we're going to complete the square. Because we need to make something that looks like number A right here, something that looks like that with no parentheses. We're going to need to make it look like this. Oops. Yeah, no, that's a line in it. We're going to make it look like something. We're going to make it look like it has x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So that's what we need to work on. All right, so step one, I'm going to group the x's together, and then I'm going to group the y's together, and let's move the constant to the right. So that's what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to do x squared minus 4x. I'm going to leave a little space right there. And then plus y squared plus 2y. And I'm going to leave another little space right there. And then I have plus 20, I have 20, minus 20. And so I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And I'm going to end up with a 0 on the left. On the right side, I'm going to end up with 20. So remember that to complete the square, so if we're going to complete the square, we're going to take a half of b, so the x coefficient, and then square it, then add it to both sides of the equal sign. All right, so to do that, I'm going to take half of -4, and half of -4 is -2. And -2 squared is going to be 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. I need to complete the square on the y's. So I'm going to take half of the 2, which is 1. 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And so I completed the square. And what's meant by that is if I were to factor that, it's going to factor into x minus 2 squared. You can see the x squared is going to come down to the x. The square root of 4 is 2, and then sign is the same as in front of the -4. So makes it a negative. So x minus 2 squared plus here, the y's, so it's going to be y squared is going to go to y. The middle sign is a plus, so it's going to be a plus. And then the square root of 1 is 1, and that's going to be squared. So factored, that would be y plus 1 squared. And on the right side, it's going to add up to 25. So if I have to answer a question, or I've written an equation, if I had to answer the question, what is the center? I could say that the center of this is 2, -1, and the radius is going to be the square root of 25, which is 5. And last example, same thing. Let's repeat that. So I'm going to have x squared plus 6x plus something, and then plus y squared minus 14y plus something is going to equal to -8, because I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. Complete the square. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to plus 9 right there. Complete the square on the y's. Half of 14 is 7. 7 squared is 49. And I should have added the 9 to both sides. And now I'm going to add the 49 to both sides. So you can see that. I added 9 both sides. And then I added 49 to both sides. Rewrite it. So I'm going to have x. The sign in front of the 6 is positive. Square root of 9 is 3. So x plus 3 squared, and then plus y, sign in front of the 14 is minus, square root of 29 is 7 squared, and then over here we get 1 plus 49 is 50, and that's the equation of my circle. It's going to have a center at negative 3, 7, and a radius of the square root of 50, which is 5 radical 2. On the next page, there are some problems. Take a minute, run through those. The first one shouldn't take any time at all. And then check back and see if you got those answers right or wrong. And it will give you an indication whether you need to ask questions in class. Next class. All right, so stop it for a minute and give these a try and then turn it back on. So take a few minutes and look at those answers on there. Compare yours. I'm going to move down, and we're going to take just one more minute to look at number 7. So on number 7, you notice that you have a 2x squared in there. So you have the 2x squared minus 12x, then the plus 2y squared plus 8y, and then it's going to be equal to negative 3. You cannot complete the square if you have a coefficient of your square terms. So I'm going to need to divide everything by a 2. And that's going to give me x squared minus 6x plus y squared plus 4y is equal to negative 3/2. So when I complete the square, I'm going to add a 9 here. I'm going to add a 4 here. And so over here, 9 and 4, I'm going to be adding 13. So let's see, can we move down anymore? So I'm going to get a 13 there. So I'm going to have x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared is equal to, so we're going to have what, a negative 3/2 plus 26/2. So that's going to be 23 halves. I don't know why I have this line there. 23 halves. So that's my radius. So x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared. So I'm getting from my center 3, negative 2. And the radius is the, well, let's do that, square root of 3/2. I need to rationalize it. So I'm going to get the square root of 56 over 2 for that answer. All right, so that was a little bit harder. All right, I am done. Okay, and I believe that would be a 46 instead. Okay, hopefully that was the only mistake I made.